Good. Well, welcome back to another episode of Barn Table Talks. I'm your host today, Travis Korn, with co-host Brian Owens. He's filling in for Andrew on Land Pro's crew, right?
Glad to be here, Travis.
And you guys noticed a different background. We're the first time on the road.
That's exciting.
It is. Took a little drive to get here, but this is Jason Holman with Bear Product Services, right? Bear. Can you tell us a little about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks for having me on, and it's good to meet you guys. And Travis, good to see you again. So we go back quite a few years. So Jason Holman, I am the Agronomic Solutions Lead for Southern Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky for Bayer.
That's a long title.
I know. It doesn't really mean anything to me.
Sounds good, though.
It does. It rolls off the tongue nicely. But it basically what I do is, with every sales team, either it's DeKalb Asgrow or Channel, we have technical experts on those teams, technical agronomists. So for where you guys are at, that'd be Megan Taylor or Heidi Spear, depending on the brand. I kind of work alongside those people. And then our TDRs, this is the site we're at today, is one of our tech development farms here in Poseyville, Indiana. And do a lot with larger agronomic strategy, making sure that we're delivering the technology and the data that our customers need.
Gotcha. Now, you didn't start in this role.
Nope.
I didn't meet you in this role.
No,
actually.
not at all.
We met, we had a co-friend.
Yep.
That kind of acquainted us. And actually Brian knows him very well as well,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
And stuff like that. How did we come across?
Yeah. So that would have been 2020.
Yeah.
I
Great
remember
year.
that. Yeah. Great year.
Everybody loved that year.
Oh, my gosh.
Had to contact. We actually had to contact the Department of Health and the National Guard to get you guys clearance.
Oh my
to come
gosh.
visit us.
There were several times I was one of three people on that airplane coming into to the state of Hawaii. It was in the state of Hawaii.
Yep, it was. Yep. Yeah. So I got sidetracked there, but yeah. So prior to my role here, I spent 5 years out in the Pacific. So we farm about 8,000 acres in Hawaii. 600 of it sit on Maui, and I'll argue that that's probably the most important 600 because that's where every bit of traits and germplasm that will hit a farmer's field in the U.S. and about 98% of our global germplasm comes through the Maui farm.
Now, I'm not allowed to agree with you because I work with the other sites too.
Yeah, it's okay. That's okay.
I can't show favoritism.
No.
Here.
Hey, I'm just. I know. And they do a great job. And there's, that's again, we have 8,000 acres, highly talented people. You're not able to be successful in Hawaii if you don't have extremely talented people across all those. Anyway, so we have a fleet of sprayers, as you're aware. We plant about 48 out of 52 weeks a year in general, and we have 11 generations of corn earworm a year. So equipment rolls quite a bit. Our sprayers, they're all Hagies, except for maybe one Miller out there, but we had a ton of different monitors in those. So we had Ravens, we had Midtex, we had some Ag Leader stuff. I think we had a deer monitor in one of them over on Oahu. And at that time, I was the Agronomic Technical Services Lead, which is an even longer title. I look at that role as kind of an ag retail. So we did soil sampling, we did IPM workflows, so spray recs, things like that. And I talked to the applicators and I said, what do you guys want that's going to make your life easier? And they said, we just need a consistent monitor. So when we get on any of those rigs, we know exactly what to do and how to run these machines. Not that they couldn't run them before, but it just becomes easier if you're familiar with the same system.
And it's hard to get consistent operators from site to site as well.
Yes.
If you need cross help, that wasn't really capable to happen too easily, right?
No, not at all. I mean, that's a very specialized role. We've got beautiful conditions for growing crops in Hawaii, but there's just not a lot of farms over there. Yeah. And so you don't have a lot of people that...
And heavy regulations.
Yes, and very, very heavy regulations, which I don't know until you get over there that you really appreciate how heavy those regulations are. So I took that very seriously and called our mutual friend. I said, hey, do you have anybody that works with Ag Leader that could help us out? And so he recommended you. So that's how we got to know each other. And we started out with some phone calls and we
get
sent a
those
bunch of
spam
pictures.
calls all the time,
Yeah.
right? Okay, so here I am standing out there, and I'm actually right across the road from your place, working down there, Dave. And I'm sitting there getting ready for one of the seasons, and I forget exactly what season we were getting ready for, but I was prepping a combine, prepping a planter. I forget what it was. I see this 808 phone number show up. I'm like, what in the world? Like, right? Spam right away.
Yeah.
I remember I entered this thing, and here's Jason on the other end. I'm like, this has to be a joke. There's no way. Right? There's no way. And it transformed, and it turned out. I think it was there was a lot of pushback on my side. I don't know if you guys knew this or not. You probably did. I may have told you, but there was a lot of pushback from the our manufacturer, ag leader at the time, saying you can't go out there and support that. There's no way. You can't do that, right? They didn't want to let me sell you guys the product or anything like that because they didn't think I was going to. I'm like, there's no different from me doing it or the guy in California doing it because I got to jump on a plane the same way they do.
Yep.
And stuff like that. But so long story short, we kind of got hooked up that way, and then it just kind of it's turned into more friendship.
Yep.
Beyond that, and
100%.
of course we were talking, and nobody. I don't know if they'll see it or hear it. I don't know. We've been talking hunting stories and I mean everything else, vacations, everything else prior to the podcast. But but that was
yeah. It's been 5 years, and a good 5 years, and I still talk with all the teams out in Hawaii, and I mean they sing your praises. You guys deliver an unparalleled level of customer service, and that we couldn't get otherwise. So personally, I'd like to thank you guys for what you do there, and the service you provide, the training, the anticipation of parts that the teams may need, because that keeps those guys moving, and it keeps the pipeline to continue to be delivered.
Yeah, and they've all been. I think the funnest thing that I've had of it is, of course, you get to relationships, and you get to. I'm not quite looked like as a just a foreigner or an outsider or something like that when I come into Molokai or something like that now, because I don't want to. There's a different look about you when you come in over there and stuff like that.
Yep.
But now it's more of the guys know you, and they're going to bring you to a local place to grab lunch and enjoy it, and and stuff like that.
Yep.
But
takes time to build trust over there, but once you get in,
and you are trusted.
You are, and you got to earn it, right? Yeah. And you get as soon as they see you work hard.
Oh, and I think Brooke was one. So not to call names here, but I think Brooke was probably one of the first guys. I think it was Brooke. I think it was. And he was like, man, this is never going to work. He was dead set against it. And I love Brooke. I mean, I talk to Brooke probably, I don't know if it's every couple of weeks now and stuff like that. But yeah, once you get that trust and once you prove yourself, and that's like anything, no, that's not just us. That's anything.
Yeah.
Whether you're the auctioneering business or what you're doing, on your side, it's all across the board.
Yep.
And still that, So you, where'd you go? How'd you get into what you're doing? Like you born with this?
No, not necessarily. So I grew up in Johnson County, Indiana. So kind of between that Greenwood, Bargersville.
You guys work dirt there, don't you?
Yeah, that's pretty much what happens now. Johnson County actually back in the 70s used to be
if you want to sell tillage tools, you go to Johnson County, Indiana.
Yeah. Well, you want to sell dirt pans too.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, we used to be the #1 farming county in the state back in the 70s.
I did not know that.
Yep. And but my family's been around for a long time.
Is that where the roots still are?
Yep.
Yep.
So if you go way back, and I don't want to bore you guys, but our original home place that sits on Whiteland Road was
no, you're on busy Whiteland Road.
Yep. That's where the wine. So my cousins run the winery there, Mallow Run Winery.
Okay, I did not know that.
Yep. So that was the original home place, and that was a land grant from the U.S. Armory after the Revolutionary War.
Really?
So our family's been in Johnson County since before Indiana was a state.
I'm going to have to stop in the Mallow Run now. Yep. I did not know that.
Yep.
Now that I got a person
right now, right?
It is.
I mean, it's just growing.
It's growing. And it always pains me to see good, because it's pretty decent farm ground. I mean, there's a lot of Rensselaer silt loam over there. It can be very productive, but it's you want to see economic progress, but you also want to see, a lot of these farm families over there. I mean, it's hard, and you're competing with whatever the developers are willing to pay per acre.
Yeah.
And so
you have that side, and then you also have the side of unsure of where it's going to go in the next generation.
Yep.
Which maybe we can bring up a little later on. Like that's a big thing that probably drives some of your business too.
Absolutely.
Yep.
It's a different mindset, that's for sure.
Yep.
From what we grew up in and that heritage. And I'm sure seeing that area developed up, it's like, wow, this is great, but you kind of like to preserve a little bit of
you
that.
got the memories.
Yeah.
You got the emotion, you got the memories of that.
Absolutely.
I remember driving this road when it wasn't stoplight every, I don't know how far, but yeah.
Well, it's even like my dad and I visit with him quite a bit as I'm through Indiana now, and I mean, the bridge over one of the roads by where I grew up at our house. He's like, well, when I was a kid, you used to have to ford the creek there.
Really?
And it's just that perspective, that historical perspective is really, really neat to hear about. And it's cool to see and hear about, but then also at the same time, I mean, appreciate what was in the past.
Yeah. Yeah. So you went to Whiteland then, school?
No, I actually went to Center Grove.
Did you?
Yep.
Okay. Wasn't
So,
sure when that was up there.
There's only a handful of us that are in ag that went to Center Grove and kind of these late 90s, early 2000s classes.
Did your dad farm?
Nope. He was a teacher.
He was a teacher?
Yep.
So what drew you to ag in general?
So I've always been interested in, I've always been around it, you know, with our family. But what really drove me to it, and really the agronomy piece, was I was a 8th grader, maybe going into my freshman year of high school, and my friend said, hey, come get a summer job with me. And so if you go down Whiteland Road right off 135, kind of between 135 and Honey Creek, it's not there anymore. There used to be a seed company called Holden's Foundation Seeds.
Okay.
And they were always hired summer help. And so I'm like, okay, it's a good job. It's outside. I like being outside.
Yeah.
It's working with corn. So I'm good with that. And so I started doing that. I'm like, well, I like this. And I got to know the plant breeders there pretty well. And I was very curious, and still am in a lot of ways. And that's what drives, you know, innovation and things like that, is being curious about why we do things and why things happen. And it kind of ignited a passion in me for agronomy. So I worked there all through high school, during the summers, but then even during the year. As soon as I get out of school, I drive down there and work until 6 o'clock. And Christmas breaks, I'd work full time. And even when I was in college, while I was in college in Indiana, I was working there. And I had a lot of mentorship from people. And so that really drove me further into the desire to be in agriculture.
Then college, I went to Purdue.
Yep. So
Okay.
I have an undergraduate degree in agronomy and soil and crop management from Purdue. Moved out to Utah. Wanted to see a little bit different agriculture.
You found it.
Yep, it did. So
You sure did.
You know, in Indiana, we got corn, beans.
Explain ag in Utah.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, in Indiana, we got corn, beans. Where we're sitting at right now is a huge wheat growing area, but I know that's not everywhere in the state.
Yep.
And then you'll see some sorghum every once in a
Maybe
while.
some melons, maybe some
you get
tomatoes, maybe some stuff like that. But nothing too diverse, I would say.
Well, it's you get more diverse as you get into Michigan, right?
Right. Yep.
Going out to Utah, there was corn there, but it was like 80-day corn for silage.
Okay.
That was a rotational crop.
What part of Utah?
This was northeast. So right on the Idaho-Wyoming border. I was in a little bitty valley called Cache Valley.
Okay.
So Utah State University is there. But a lot of potatoes, a lot of sugar beets, a lot of just different small grains. So wheat, triticale, some oats, things like that. And then there's a lot of peaches in that valley, and then some berry production and things like that. And obviously ranching is a big part of that. So I'd never really been too much around livestock. I mean, there was a little bit, there was always cows and sheep and stuff, but no ranching. Nothing at scale. Not going out on a 250,000 acre ranch trying to find mama cows and calves, trying to, that was really cool to be able to be a part of that, because we go back to history and family pride and legacy. Yeah. And that's where a lot of those people started from. And so being able to be a part of a family's branding process, those type of things it was different. And it was new to me, and it was really cool. And it got a lot of perspective.
Now, so you worked for a family?
No.
What'd you do?
So when I was out there, I was just a student.
Okay.
Got to be friends. I was in the School of Ag, so I have a degree, undergrad degree in ag systems from Utah State University, and so that was really focused on ag mechanization. I still minored in agronomy when I was out there, and did some different things. So I worked in the crop physiology lab. I worked for the ag systems department. Actually, was under a grant from Agribility of Utah, so helping innovate solutions for farmers with disabilities.
Okay.
So that's what the grant we were on. We worked on things like that. But I got to be friends with a lot of guys up in the Snake River Valley of Idaho, near Pocatello, Idaho Falls. Got to go out, and they were farming 13,000 acres, and got to run spud harvesters, got to see how all that stuff worked. Ran combines for them in the summer or late summer. And just, it was fun. I love iron. So I got my iron fixed by going and help. I was free labor for them.
Yeah,
all they had to do was feed me and house me. Yeah.
Right.
And I got that experience. So really, really fun time out there.
Good.
Did you get much free time out there? What'd you do? Is if you weren't working or at school, did you do anything for fun?
Yeah. So actually got really into snowboarding in the winter because you have to be into a winter sport. I was too poor to own a snow machine. So yeah, I got a snowboard, did a lot of stuff on that. Usually in the summertime, I did one summer go up and ranch in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. So put up a lot of hay, fixed fences, got chased by buffalo. That was a fun time. But yeah, I get lost in the mountains. I had a 4-wheel drive truck. I just go on those Forest Service roads and just get lost. And then obviously hunt every chance I got.
Sure.
A little bit different with drawings, but you could always get some OTC tags over there.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
yeah. So after that, I moved to Georgia.
How old were you then?
Oh, 24.
24.
I took the scenic route.
Yeah. No, you took the 4-wheel drive mountain route.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. But yeah, then after that, I moved to Southwest Georgia, worked for a competitive seed company out there, and then ended up a couple years later moving to California with them. And both of those were kind of working on heat and drought stress and the R&D side. And then in California, I actually worked in vegetables too. So I managed a 100-acre watermelon and melon farm, and then ended up, we were talking about international travel earlier, and that role was really fun because vegetables, we talk about ag being a small world because there's only, 1% of U.S. Folks are in agriculture. Veg is very small, and it's very global. So I was on a plane in around 2010 to 2012, middle of 2012. I was on a plane every 10 days from November to March.
No kidding.
Going to Chile, going to Peru, going to Costa Rica.
Wow.
That was really fun until you start having kids.
Yeah. So, okay. Met your wife. At what point did you meet your wife?
So we met in South Georgia. So we were in Grady County in the bustling town of Cairo, Georgia.
So she's a Georgia peach?
No, she's
Not
actually
from
from South America.
Oh, she is?
Yep.
Okay.
She is. So oddly enough, her mom is from Indiana.
Okay.
Was born in Chicago, raised in Indiana, and then ended up down there about 55 years ago and met her dad. And so she has dual citizenship.
Mm-hmm.
Her uncle was pretty high up in another company as an agronomist.
Yeah.
Very, very accomplished agronomist for another company. And got her a job at the same research facility I was at. So we kind of hit things off and ended up in California, and then moved back to Indiana. And I was a technical agronomist for DeKalb Asgrow up in northern Indiana. But
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, we're both in agriculture.
Gotcha.
Both have degrees in agriculture. We both work in agriculture today.
Gotcha. Well, that's interesting how small world comes around like that too.
It does.
So, I mean, she still knew of Indiana and how it existed.
Yep.
That's not many people
Never
know.
stops. So I mean, her family. I mean, her mom and dad. Her dad passed away a couple of years ago, but he was a hydraulic engineering professor, and her mom was a professor of linguistics.
We're out of
in Colombia, Universidad del Cauca.
Okay.
I said that right. But they had farm ground. I mean, everybody has a little bit of a farm. And her dad had a decent chunk of land. He grew eucalyptus, bananas, plantains, and
Were
coffee.
you able to make it down there quite often? Were you?
Yep.
That's neat.
Yeah, I couldn't go as often as she and our daughter went because I couldn't take
Right.
3 or 4 weeks off. And there was a time right after Emily was born that she took off for a couple of years while, she
Gotcha.
was really young.
Yeah.
So they would go down for a month at a time. I just couldn't take that much time off. But beautiful area, very similar to the climate of Maui.
Yeah.
And so that's when we went to Maui, she was like, well, this
This is home.
Yeah.
This feels like home.
Yeah. Not quite the cold winters of the Midwest there.
Right. Right. So, and then that all after California, that landed you in Hawaii?
No, after California, so that would have been 2012. So I landed in July of 2012, which you remember that was a pretty bad drought. And as I was flying into Indy, I'm like, well, I'm not going to have much to do. I started looking around, and there were silage choppers going in July, just taking out dead corn. Like, well, I guess I got a lot of time to meet people and build relationships. But so yeah, 2012 to 2018, I was a technical agronomist. So the team that I support across we call it Slinky, so Southern Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky. I was a TA in Northern Indiana. I really wanted to lead people. That was something that was near and dear to my heart. I like development for myself, but I really, really take a lot of pride when I can see other people do well. It gets what gets me out of bed in the morning. And that was an opportunity that I got as my manager at the time said, you ought to consider moving to Hawaii. It's a pressure cooker out there. There's a lot of people, there's a lot of talent, and there's never an off season. And so there was an opportunity on Maui, and I hadn't really I thought, well, it'd be cool. And especially when I was in my 20s, that was an idea. But, my wife and I talked about it and like, let's give it a shot. And applied.
How old was your daughter?
She was 4.
4. Okay. Yeah. So she wasn't in school yet.
No.
Nothing.
Yeah, she went to kindergarten, her first year of kindergarten in Maui.
Got you. And easier decision when you don't have to pull them and move them for friends and stuff like that.
Yeah, but I mean, all she'd ever known was grandma and papa,
right,
and cousins and aunts and uncles, because my brother and sister live within 5 miles of my parents.
Okay.
And I'm the one that went out.
Gotcha.
So that was really hard on her the first couple years.
Yeah.
But she lived about half of her life in Hawaii.
Yeah.
And we had a great time. So, yeah. And not a lot of people can say in 5 years they grew 16 corn crops.
There you go.
So.
That's right. Most of the time, that's almost a half a lifetime.
Yeah. Yep.
Right?
Absolutely.
So interesting. So that brings you all the way up till now.
Yep.
And you kind of previously explained what you do now. So what are some of the exciting projects that you may be able to share? Or I know there's a lot of development.
Yep.
And I'm going to give you guys a lot of credit. We see a lot of stress. I think you'd agree with this. Year in and year out. It seems like we're walking out of a season, coming into the start of harvest, coming into the backside of something, saying, man, I don't know how that crop is yielding what it is with what it's been through this year. Right?
Yep.
And I think that has to go back to, obviously, the pressure cooker that happens, through the breeding, through the genetics and stuff like that. Maybe you could explain the genetic development cycle a little bit. I bet there's a lot of people, myself included, that don't quite know that cycle, if it's possible for you to put that in crown form. I don't know if that's even possible.
Yeah, I mean, I talk a lot about this, and usually at customer events and field days, I mean, that's what people want to know, right? Is how do you come up with these products?
Yeah, somebody's got an idea, I guess, right? Yeah. Is that what it starts with?
Well, it starts, I mean, if you think about, and I don't have the graph in front of me, but if you go back to, let's say if you went to Purdue Agronomy 105, I think Schweitzer taught that class, I think, for those of us old folks that had Lee when he was at Purdue. He still remembers your name, too. I ran into him a couple of years ago.
Really?
He still remembers me.
Remembers good impression then, right?
The other TAs, yeah. But if you look at it, there's a historical graph that goes between 1860 and today. And it shows corn and soybean yields across the U.S. because that's when they started measuring accurately of corn yields and soybean yields. Beans have steadily increased, year over year. So there's a pretty consistent rate of genetic gain through breeding, agronomics, farming practices, things like that.
Their uses has changed, which probably has driven that genetic change too. Is that correct?
Yes.
It used to be more of a forage crop.
Yeah, it was a forage crop. And for a long time, it was like, well, if you're going to plant 40 pounds to the acre, you're going to get 40 bushels back, right?
Okay.
We're not seeing that anymore. We're seeing much higher than that. But then there's niche markets, high oleic markets. Beans are starting to go back into forage in certain cases. But
where at, really?
Yeah, there's some work being done on the dairy side on high oleic soybeans. There's some other stuff around chicken feed and things like that. But in general, I mean, beans are milled and used for feed. We export a lot of stuff to South Korea, especially out of Indiana. And the Indiana Soybean Alliance could tell you a lot more than I could about end uses. But I mean, in general, beans have been pretty steadily increasing year over year, but there's never been this like huge spike in yield like we've seen with corn. And so you go back and you look at 1937, we saw a huge like increase in slope. And I invite you guys to say why that is.
Why is that? I'll lead into it.
So that was the introduction of hybrid corn. So prior to 1937, it was you go out to your field, you select the best ears, and that's what you plant the next year.
Really?
Well, if you plant the same field or the same corn in the same field or even your neighbor fields over and over and over, you're going to be inbreeding it. And so when you went out to Hawaii, you notice how short that corn was and how small the ears were. those are all inbred ears. So when you take two inbreds and you hybridize them, there's a process called heterosis. And so you're kind of getting, I mean, you likely get the best of the best, and you get the F1 vigor. So that's why your hybrid corn is 12 feet tall in some cases, versus the inbreds are maybe 5 to 6 feet tall.
Okay.
So that hybrid vigor, on top of just better agronomics and better yield, kick-started, really the plant breeding process. And so universities had done a lot. There was a privatization, really got big in the 1970s with seed companies. So, I'm a legacy Monsanto guy. So I guess if most people know, Monsanto and Bayer came together in 2018. So I was talking about myself being a legacy Monsanto guy. We've got a lot of legacy Bayer people as well. But in the 1970s, that's really when the privatization of germplasm became a big thing. And that's when proprietary lines were being developed by breeders. And so you continue to see a climb in yield at like 2 to 3 bushels per year. Or you could be even more than that. Let's just say 3 to 4% per year. And so, plant breeding hasn't changed a lot over the course of time. I mean, we're still, you're still selfing inbreds, you're looking for desirable traits, you're crossing, you're putting them out in the field, and you're observing. The game-changing thing came back in the I'd say late 90s, early 2000s, at least on our side. If you remember, we, as Monsanto, bought a whole bunch of seed companies. So, I mean, we went and bought, and the reason is we wanted that germplasm access. So their lines to kind of supercharge a breeding program. So we always call that breeding 1.0, kind of the bigger and faster. Then we started moving into more accuracy with molecular marker technology. So you could actually take a seed, ship a piece off of it, run DNA, and you figure out exactly what traits you want. So you're not having to plant a whole bunch of stuff that you don't want to make that selection. And it's often said, like, if you could plant almost the entire state of Iowa in corn, and you're really looking for one ear of corn out of all that.
Really?
So the selection process is just massive. So if you can reduce that selection time, all of a sudden it just makes life so much easier. So we're then selecting for better agronomics, standability, ear flex, those type of things that are important to farmers. Then we digitally enable that even further by starting to integrate AI into it and starting to make predictive crosses and look at things like that. The coolest thing is what we've been doing since about 2018. We call it precision breeding. I don't think you've been out, but you've probably seen or heard about our greenhouse in Arizona.
Okay, I've been out there.
Okay, so 7 acres under glass. That will displace about 20,000 acres of testing.
Wow.
And I'm very proud of how often we're able to turn and burn in Hawaii, as far as 3 cycles to 4 cycles a year.
Yeah.
They do continuous cycling there.
Wow.
So the greenhouse never shuts down. I mean, seeds are transplanted, they're planted into pots, and they get on what's basically a small rail car, and they travel their whole lives through that greenhouse. Plants come out, we bring the plants to people don't go to the plants, and then they get out, they run it through the dryer, the sheller, they run that molecular analysis on it, for lack of a better term, and then they make those selections and run it right back through the greenhouse.
No kidding.
That has increased the scale like 8 to 10x. And it's the best part about it, and the most exciting thing to me about it is it's customer design. So if, we spend a lot of time out there. I was actually last week in Danville, Indiana, and we brought our so Becky was there. Becky, so for those of you guys who know, Becky was my boss in Hawaii. So she's our Hawaii business lead. All of our breeding leadership team was in Danville, Indiana, or Whitestown, Indiana, one of our stations, and we brought 25 farmers in to meet with them. They wanted to hear feedback. What do you like? What do you don't like? What do we need to be focused on? And so with that, instead of trying to search for that needle in the haystack, this has allowed us to design the needle.
Okay.
And that's been a game changer for us to be able to put out products faster. And going back to your question about, the durability of corn and soybeans during stressful conditions, things like that, it's a direct result of that. And that's the way we do it. There's other companies that are doing stuff similar, and some that are doing very traditional. But that desire to deliver a durable product to a customer that provides stability and then a great yield punch when the timing is right is something that we're all aspiring to. We just go to get it different ways.
Is the same, so a lot of what you've been kind of discussing has been the development of the like corn genetics.
Yep.
Are other genetics focused on or looked at in the same way of other crops, of other things like that? Like,
Yep.
you know,
Yeah, I would say, I mean, kind of
now it probably has.
Yeah, now it has. I mean, and soybeans are a little bit different because they're not hybrids; they're varieties, right?
Okay.
So you really you're breeding populations and you're selfing them, and so that's why, you know, if you've ever worked in a seed company, you're way better off doing that in corn because you're going to love plant breeding. If you have to go with soybeans, you're bent over. You've got magnifying glasses, tweezers, and feathers to do pollination. It's not a fun. Not a fun time.
Way to talk it up.
Yeah, sorry. We need soybean breeders.
To apply today.
But it is very variety driven, not hybrid driven, right? You do have to hybridize beans. You have to do crosses, but it's largely varieties. But those same methodologies of selection, and then really that design piece that we just talked about from us covers corn, soybeans, and cotton in a large way. Same for wheat, though. I mean, it's all of these crops, and we start to think about advancements in plant genetics and plant breeding. That's what we're all aspiring to do. Is we need more yield, right? That's the first thing that we all look for in plant breeding is how is it going to yield? Because if it doesn't out yield the last product that it's
No one's going to buy it.
well, there's no point.
Right.
But we also have to bring in tar spot resistance or red leaf spot resistance, southern rust resistance, those type of things. So those agronomic traits, while they don't add yield, they protect yield. And that's something I've said for a long time is, the minute you open that bag of seed, whether it's corn, beans, wheat, cotton, cucumbers, I don't care. There's a war that's starting with Mother Nature and us. And so it's our job as farmers to protect that yield as much as we can, because it has maximum genetic yield potential from the minute that we produce it and the minute that it is in the bag. The minute it goes into the ground, then all of a sudden we've got fungus. If it's too cold, you've got, fusarium coming in or pythium coming in. We've got a lot of different environmental stresses, and we've done a great job. And I think that's a credit to every one of the farmers too. I'm not going to just say, yield gains are largely in a big way because of advances in plant breeding, but it's also farming practices.
Management.
Yeah. It's genetics by environment we talk about a lot, but then there's also management. So G by E is a big thing, but G by E by M means even more.
Gotcha.
Because that's where the NCGA.
Yeah. Which is ultimately driven by business.
Yep.
Like our economy and stuff like that in which we operate in and stuff like that. And the risk factors associated with all of that now.
Yep.
So when you rewind when you first started in this and you look at where you're at now, the gains that you've seen, the technology, the genetics, where do you go from here? How important is AI a part of this?
So I think we're really at scratching the surface of AI and ag. I mean, I think as a society in general, we're doing that. So I mean, AI is important from agronomic resources. From being able to provide insights, whether it's at for me as an agronomic manager, or from a farmer to just, here's my scenario. What insights can AI provide me to save me a little bit of time? But I also think I just lost my train of thought. Sorry, could you re-ask the question? I told you I was going to do this.
No, you're good. just with technology and how our society right now is kind of leaning on AI, right?
Yep.
Does AI play a factor?
Yeah, it does. I would say it absolutely does.
It sounds like it started earlier than what we were really even
Yeah.
AI we know is probably totally different than what AI
Yes, very much.
You have been genetically you have been using for a long time.
Yeah, and again, I think AI comes back to how does this help me? And so I look at this from the insights piece is so big. It doesn't matter if you're using ChatGPT to plan a vacation, right? Or if you're using some of these AI models that are internal that are helping predict, what lines to cross to get what output you want. You're really gleaning a lot of information for insights, and it's taking data sets that are larger than we could ever look at ourselves, and then spitting out an output that you can take. And you still don't have to take the advice, right? But it's statistically going to put you in a better spot,
right?
And I will say, you start to think about the technology that is going to be coming. I'm really excited where we've got the next 3 years, we've kind of got 3 big products. One of them, and we can go out and see later, is the Precision corn. So
Okay.
I don't know if you guys are super familiar with that. It's not really big south of 70 yet, but it's short stature corn. So it's semi-dwarf, I guess.
Okay. So I don't want to mean to interrupt you,
Yeah.
but I do want to. Why have our hybrids been 12, 13 feet tall? I mean, we get tall
Yep.
hybrids out here. Like you can go out in fungicide and they're taller than the sprayers.
Yep.
A lot of times. Has it been attributed to a tall corn produces a large ear? Like, is it just because it can capture more sunlight? What
They're-
has
they're-
the thought like?
Yeah, so that
Like,
school of thought has changed over time.
Okay.
And so much of it also has to do with when you plant,
Okay.
right? So typically and especially this year, you'll see it if you go up into stuff that was planted in April and West Central Indiana, it's a lot shorter than stuff that was planted in May and June.
Same variety, same hybrid.
Same hybrid. And,
Yeah.
And you can
Okay.
see that no matter what genetics you're looking at.
So wait. April was shorter than May and June.
Mid-April. Now, if you're planting March
Really?
29th, you're going to have a little bit probably. I mean, it's kind of a reverse bell curve.
Yeah, that was expecting that to be.
Yeah, opposite.
Yes, that caught me as surprising there.
And we did a tour, a short corn tour last week. We started north of I-80 in Illinois and went all the way down to Indianapolis and then up to Lafayette.
Okay.
All of our stuff in April, like that April 13th to probably May 9th was, I would say, very on par with what short corn should be. But if you get into that late May, Memorial Day, very early June, it got a lot taller.
So I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate on this. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. This is also educating me. We have organic matter that we get out of destroyed stock content and everything like that,
Yeah.
right? We're cutting our stock content, I'm going to say, in half or by a third. Where's that going to produce? What's that going to do for us agronomically, to our soils, and to what's left out there? Do you think that's going to impact us, or
No.
is the same amount of nutrients just in less stock?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's less stock. And it's shorter stature. It doesn't necessarily mean.
Does that make sense on what I was
Yeah,
asking?
no, I understand. I understand what you're saying. We've done a lot. I mean, we did a lot of investigation and research with our customers on, what are your concerns with short corn, right? So the stock content is not actually, that doesn't change that much. It's just shorter stature.
Gotcha.
There was that.
So you may have larger diameter.
You could, and the
Okay.
leaf sheaths actually make it look bigger than it actually is.
Okay.
But it does provide standability that is a lot better. Than,
Okay.
and you'll see it out here in the field.
Okay.
But yeah, I wouldn't say, and even on our silage acre that we're working on, tonnage has not gone down, and that would be probably a very good test on a large scale. If you're shrinking it down by a third,
Yeah.
you would think that your tonnage would be less
Right.
on silage, and
Right.
that's not the case.
Is there hesitation from the grower? I mean, is there convincing that has to be done in a scenario of, look, you got to trust us. Like, this may be a shorter corn, but you're still getting the same tonnage out of this, or better.
No, I mean, we've done a lot. So, like anything else, data is unbiased. What
Yeah.
you see is what you get.
Yeah.
So we've done a lot of studies. University of Maryland has done stuff with us. We've got like a 5-year study with Michigan State on long-term feeding. We do our own stuff. So they're pretty excited about this. There's a pretty sizable dairy in Indiana that's got a lot of short corn right now, and they've continued to increase year over year.
Gotcha. That was just a question that jumped into my mind there. I was like, well, we're going down this road of trying to reduce, I would say, stock or plant material is what it appears to be.
Yep.
But apparently that's not the case.
No, not necessarily. And the fodder piece has been, I mean, it's just like, I mean, it's corn at the end of the day.
Gotcha.
But it is nice. And going back to that AI piece and kind of the insights piece, that's part of it. We're doing this differently than we ever have before.
Yeah.
Where you're not just, as a seed dealer, I'm not just going to drop a box of corn off and say good luck. Call me if you got any problems. This is very much high touch service, high touch innovation. So the TAs are out there a lot. The sales agronomists are out there a lot. The FSR is out there a lot, but it's tied directly to population, to field qualification. So we're using these digital tools and algorithms to say, hey, 1/16/20, you want to plant this? Well, let's look at these 4 fields. Well, it only qualifies on 2 of these 4. So we don't want to put it on this. We're actually getting very accurate on matching these hybrids to the field, and then we're running very specific scripts on population. And you've really need to push the population up, which gets guys pretty, at first, pretty uncomfortable, and then they start to see where the benefit is, because these can handle 40, 42, 45,000. I saw stuff that was over 50,000 plants per acre.
Wow.
High organic matter, northern Illinois soils.
Gotcha.
Right? So it's going to depend on where you're at, but that density piece is huge. And that's where we've really seen that benefit. So anyway, that's been that digital piece, that AI piece is really going to play a part in the way that we're going to launch this Precion system, but a lot of other things across ag. I mean, I think that's helping us evolve into what the future is going to look like.
Right. Does your taller hybrids that you see out there, does that help in any way with like weed pressure or anything like that? Does that make a difference if you've got a taller stalk versus a shorter stalk, as far as, let's just say, like you were talking earlier, Travis has said, wow, you've crossed some of these, and some of these hybrids are so tall. With that being said, I mean, is there still the same amount of weed pressure, whether you've got a taller stalk or a shorter stalk?
Weed pressure, or I would say risk of canopy exposure to sunlight, right, has not changed. Same number of leaves, same number of nodes. So,
wait, so you're telling me that every piece of that corn plant is basically designed to do exactly that? How many leaves come out on it?
Yep.
To and I kind of know this, but I'm playing like the direction the leaves face. So the leaves, if anybody notices, like they're not growing, they're growing into the row, into the 30 inches next to it, not into each other, right? So the direction that they grow and everything, like that's all part of the programs that have been developed over the last since 1937.
Then you get you see modern hybrids where you want to, because if you go back to 1937, people were check planting, or maybe at 38-inch row, but I mean 36-inch rows weren't even around till like the 1950s. And 30s were like the game changer. Now we're into 20s and even twins.
Right.
Yeah.
But you start to look at how we've bred leaf architecture. You see a lot more upright leaves. Instead of those big floppy dog ear leaves, because with increasing population, we want to make sure that leaf architecture can capture as much sunlight as possible.
It's just amazing.
It is.
The thought and the science that goes into what you drive by every day. And we drive by how many hundreds of thousands of acres getting down here today, and you don't commonly think of.
I mean,
and most people,
that, right?
Most people probably never have that. Every piece of that was designed to do exactly what it's doing in that field. So, and there's got to be a lot of pride, a lot of cool stuff to be like, it's part of that. Like, to look at it and be like, that was my work. Like, at some point, you can say that, and when you've been in the industry long enough, I feel like that was cool.
And it's really cool. And the rubber meets the road, in a lot of ways. And it's, as agronomists, I don't always get the most positive news when I get phone calls.
Well, yeah, no.
But it is fun, because I have had those phone calls where you get to.
They're rewarding when you get them.
They are.
So when we go back and talk about this stuff, growing stresses, drought, maybe an overabundance of rain. You go back to disease. You go back to many different factors in make a crop. What's your preference, conventional till or no till? Or what does the data show?
I'm going to give you the standard agronomist answer. It depends. No, I see.
Answer it with a question.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
What do you think? No, I think it really depends on each grower. And I say that depends tongue in cheek, but I'm also being serious, right? So, I see decided advantage to conventional tillage in certain areas of the world. I also see where no-till has a very important place. And especially we get down here into southern Indiana, we've got a lot more roll of those fields. And even if you're conventional tilling, you're probably not doing a fall burn down, because you've got to keep that soil in place.
Right.
And so, it's hard to say. I think it depends on state by state, even county.
We don't want the Dust Bowl.
No, we don't.
Right? So, that was largely contributed to over-tillage. A long, long time, right? So there's time and place probably for all of it, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's times where, you have to get out the moldboard plow. You got to knock the dust off that thing from time to time. I tend to prefer a no-till system personally, but that's largely with the farming style that I like.
Sure. Now, there's a lot of definitions for no-till that gets slowed, from a minimum till to I only run one pass to a true I don't till to. So there's a lot of different definitions. I think there's a lot of gray ground in the middle that gets met more often than I'm a true hardcore. Nothing goes in the dirt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I'm lucky enough that I get to work with people that are all over the spectrum in terms of that. And so I don't know. I mean, you talk to 30-year no-tillers and they'll never change it, right? And it works for them, and they have good yields and they have good fertility, and it's all about adapting to what Mother Nature throws at you with the way that you want to do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, well, that's fun. So, what's next?
So,
and maybe you can't answer that.
No, I mean, I can, but there's a lot of, I think the future is bright with ag. I mean, I can talk selfishly about what we're doing. I mean, we're talking about 10 blockbusters in 10 years, but really three in the next 3. So we've got a new CP product coming out, pending regulatory approval.
That kind of, if you can pause on this.
Yeah.
From the time you develop something, and I don't see them when I'm down in Hawaii, whatever, but the time I'm around them when I'm on, down there working on equipment, whatever you're doing down there, right? From the time it maybe enters a mind and hits a facility where it's like, this needs to go out in the field to get tried, to the time we see it in a bag in a cornfield going down the road. What's that time frame?
It's actually accelerated quite a bit. So historically, and if we go back to that original breeding conversation I had with the old way of breeding, that could have been anywhere from 7 to 12 years.
7 to 12 years.
Where we get to now is around, I would say 5, and it's only because we're not ever going to give up on the field testing and validation component of it.
Okay.
So, one metric is what would have taken us 15 years in the past, we can get done in about a year or 18 months with this new style of breeding. But that's really that product development piece. Nobody ever wants, we still need to validate on the farm in different conditions and different soils. How is this going to perform on your farm or, somebody out in Ord, Nebraska? Because if it doesn't,
you can't afford an epic failure.
Yeah. And we have a lot of confidence on the digital side of that and the AI side of that to predict, but we still want to make sure that absolutely this works. And for nothing else, it's a validation and it's confidence building.
So you guys get this out on the farm and you're like, oh man, this is going to grow great. These guys are going to love it. That's it. You just put a stamp on the bag and it goes out the door, right? You come up with some random number, right? Yeah. And you're like, oh, it's time for Jason. What's the number today? Yeah. Like, what's your daughter's birthday? Put it on there, right? That's what it goes.
Well, it's a little bit more complicated than that. But no, it's been fun to watch. New product deployment. So we're actually right now, I know Brad may be walking in here at any minute, but he's out evaluating all of his plots that are kind of 1 and 2 years away for commercial launch. And it's fun to talk to him to get super excited about what he's seeing. Because he's going to go in next month or in the next 2 months and kind of go over data. He's going to sit with our breeding teams and our product managers, and then we're going to start deploying products. Because if you think about it, there's 60-ish acres here, and there's a handful of our pre-commercial trials. But if you look at that, you're going to have thousands and thousands of potential lines, and maybe 4 of them make it through.
Wow.
We select really, 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 we're very scrutinious. Is that a word?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
We'll go with it. Yeah, sounds great. but we put these
really
products in. Yeah, we scrutinize everything that we do. And it's not everything makes the cut.
Gotcha.
And so there's a lot. That's the things that people probably don't realize either. You've got thousands of potential, hundreds of thousands, or even millions of potential candidates when you first start out. And really, you need to get down to 4 or 5 a year.
It's about like the job pool today, right? About like hiring people.
Yeah.
Like the same thing.
Yeah.
Not even close.
Well, it depends on how wide of a net you cast if you've got a specialized role.
So, but it is. I mean, it's not you guys sitting here dreaming up numbers for some reason. It's not your daughter's birthday. It's not.
Nope.
None of that stuff. It's not as easy as just sticking your sticker on and saying you got to buy this. There's a lot of regulation
Yep.
that has to be met before it ever even comes out, and that's part of that 5-7 year window. Before.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, especially with new traits or new active ingredients, things like that in the CP world. I mean, this is not just us in a vacuum doing this. I mean, there's oversight by the USDA, by the EPA, things like that, and there's a lot of paperwork involved in regulations.
What happens on a global scale when you don't have the same governing agencies? You guys send seed all over the world, I'm assuming.
Yeah, we do, but a lot of those they're local. I mean, because we have a big presence in the U.S. Right?
Yeah.
U.S. and Canada is a huge market for everyone in agriculture, but we also have facilities in Brazil and Chile and Argentina and other key areas all over Asia. So we're developing products locally
specifically for regions.
For those regions.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean,
I'm not going to get a variety here that's meant to be in Brazil.
No.
Gotcha.
No.
Gotcha.
And so that, I mean, yeah, we breed with global germplasm because there's a lot of disease resistance that comes out of Brazil and out of Thailand and stuff like that we'll play around with. But we adapt it to the upper Midwest.
Gotcha. And it doesn't matter where you're at in the world. It's the same thing for different crops, different.
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because every place is unique. Every climate's unique. The soils are unique. Things like that. So we there's not a one size fits all approach to this at all.
It'd be a lot more affordable for us.
It would be. It would be a lot more boring if it was too.
would have drove on by now.
Yeah.
So, but when you get into these sites and stuff like that, I know I've had to sign in. There's a lot of securities that got to be in place.
Yep.
And maybe you could. The reasons, obviously, it's probably theft of ideas, theft of genetics, whatever it is. But is there anything else that goes on with that biosecurity scenario?
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, a lot of different things. It depends on crops, obviously. So when you've come onto our sites before, you check in with security. I mean, it's part of it's also for your own safety, right? Yeah. But then, the intellectual property theft it's a real thing. I mean, there's a lot of potential threats of espionage that have hit agriculture.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and you've read about it in the newspaper.
Yeah.
So we take that very seriously. Our security teams take that very seriously. I mean, and you go beyond even the seed technology or traits or whatever. I mean, there's innovations that certain sites have that we want to make sure that we're keeping that proprietary. But I think beyond that too is you start to look at plant health overall. So we obviously have to get certified by agencies to be able to export seed to one other country or another. And we don't want people just walking in off the street and dragging in Goss's wilt, for example, or whatever. And it's a bigger deal on vegetable seed breeding. So I don't know if you've ever been a chance to go check one of those places out. They usually have you soak your boots in trisodium phosphate.
Really?
Because that will kill viruses. So, and viruses can travel a long way. So you could be walking a watermelon field 6 miles away, get in your truck, go to this other one, and you just brought in watermelon mosaic virus. So before you ever enter the field, you have to go walk through, and it's a shallow bath.
Yeah.
But you go through some TSP. Before you go onto the field. It's the same way. I mean,
it's similar to our biosecurities that we have, like when you go into animal facilities, right? And stuff like that.
Yep. Yeah. It's all about sanitation.
Yeah.
The same way in like tomatoes. I mean, oddly enough, if you smoke or chew, you gotta be very careful when you're touching tomatoes because tobacco mosaic virus is on most of the tobacco.
Really?
And if you touch that leaf, you can actually induce.
Well, there's a lot of growers that I know that just. Willy-nilly.
Well, the good thing about viruses is you have to actually you have to mechanically injure the plant for the virus to get in.
Okay.
That's typically why, like you see in Goss's wilt, it's mostly on pivot irrigated cornfields. And it's the same way with tobacco mosaic virus on tomatoes. Like if the plant rips, the leaf rips open, and then you're touching it, that's when you get it. So I mean, I guess you could ash your cigarette or spit your chaw onto a plant. It probably wouldn't do it, but you know, if you're running a cultivator and all of a sudden the shank kind of cuts some leaves and you're like, you know,
Interesting. There's that's tons. Like,
yeah. But I mean, I guess again, back to the biosecurity piece. I mean, you know, that threat is real. No matter, and I mean, you can see it at the National Farm Machinery Show of people taking pictures and reverse engineering equipment and then selling it, you know, taking patented items and selling them other places. And we're all, I mean, I'm not just speaking for us. I mean, it's everybody in the industry takes this very seriously.
Gotcha.
There's a lot of work that goes into what we develop and what our competitors develop, and we want to make sure that you know, we're protecting that, and it doesn't get in the wrong hands, and then, you know, who knows what happens.
Excellent. Well, I'm excited to go do a little bit of walking here.
Well, yeah.
Let's jump out
Absolutely.
here and go see what you got, and we'll take a short break here to get mic'd up and go out that direction. Is that okay?
Yeah, sounds great.
All right. We'll see you on the other side, guys. Okay, well, welcome back. We've moved back out here. Took a short walk from where we were at before.
Yep.
We're kind of out back, and for people that don't know, is this a standard plot? This is what we do, right? This is a plot?
Yeah, this is what we call our market development plots. So we're in the channel block right now. We've got DeKalb down there as well, but it's kind of our top hybrids that we've got that we're going to be selling in 26. So we got some old stable product, not old, but stable products, and then we've got some newer stuff that we've released in the last year. But we put out these, one for demonstration, then we'll actually take these to yield. Same hybrids on the other side of us. We've just got some different management practices.
Gotcha.
And so this farm in general, I mean, we do a lot. I mean, it's here for, I would call, product development. So we have a lot of national and regional, I call them protocols, but really, how are we looking at, well, we talked a little bit about Preceon. We do have some Preceon out here. How do we look at that from a high sulfur versus low sulfur, or high N versus low N, and then adding a fungicide to a treatment? So it gives the tech development reps and the TAs an opportunity to look at the local market and the local environment, what these farmers here want, and really drive some management questions that they have, and then they're able to validate.
Now, when we say local, how large is local? Like when you guys are trying to, we got, you know, one of the varieties here. Like, how large is that? Would that be released in a national or in a regional level? Like, how big is local really?
It just depends. That's my standard agronomist answer again, but
Brian's back there laughing. He loves that one. We only had 2 mics, so we kicked Brian off for this part of the episode, by the way. So,
but yeah, so I mean, there's some that are very, very localized to, I wouldn't say just a few counties, right? But I would say largely it's an east versus west. So if you get, you know, east, what I'm saying, Mississippi River and east.
Okay.
That's just because of adaptability. We don't need Goss's wilt tolerance here.
Okay.
We don't deal with iron deficiency chlorosis, you know, in this part of the world.
Okay.
There are some products that are very, very, very
so
eastern biased.
Maybe follows the amount of our growing degree units or our heat units that are available east to west across the U.S. type thing, right? Like, can you explain that coloring book form? Like, guys, we may not have people that understand how corn or progresses through its life cycle. Like, when you say it's 115-day corn, what are we talking about?
Yeah, it's 115-day corn to physiological maturity.
Yeah.
Right? So it's 115 days from the minute you plant it. We've got different, maybe not the minute it emerges, sorry. And there's some different interpretations of that, but it only varies by a couple of days. But typically your earlier corn is going to fit up north, so you're not going to be able to grow 118-day corn in Michigan. Now they'll do it sometimes.
Okay, what's the reason of that?
It takes a very long time to reach maturity. You've got a shorter growing window.
Okay.
And it takes a while to dry down to get it out of the field.
Okay.
So you can do it, but they're much more that early, 90 to maybe 110 at the latest.
You risk maybe a frost kill. You risk something like that that's going to prematurely kill the plant before it completely turns into a mature ear that's harvestable.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay.
And I mean, one of the things that amazing things about corn is, this is why we're seeing maturity shifts. So I mean, I'd ask you, I mean, you've probably seen more 116, 118 day corn in the last 4 or 5 years
Then 112s and 110s.
Yeah, than you
have
have in the last 20 years, right?
Yeah.
And we're starting to see that. You look across Iowa, which is very far north of us, where we're standing right now, and they're planting 116 and 118 day corn, but they're getting out there early and they're shelling it off and they're able to dry it. The reason is because the yield potential is there, and the reason that yield potential is there is because it has a very long grain filling period.
Okay.
That's really where that maturity thing comes in. Now we can push out monster yields out of early hybrids, but it
has to be perfect in that grain fill window.
Yep.
Everything in the environment has to be perfect.
And they typically do. I mean, they're cooler, so we want cool conditions during grain fill. We don't want cold.
Okay.
But we don't want really hot conditions during grain fill.
Corn's a grass.
Yep.
Am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a grass, so it likes cooler, typically.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. Gotcha. So when we're talking about like our 118, 115, 12, whatever it is day, what's considered a day? Calendar days? Like, what are we looking at on this?
No, well, that would be a calendar day, but we also look at growing degree units to physiological maturity. Okay. So that can range anywhere from, let's say, 2,000 to 3,000, something like that. And it all varies. You can look at any seed guide from any seed supplier out there. It'll tell you how many GDUs does it take to get to flowering, and how many GDUs does it take to get to physiological maturity, or that black layer.
And that's how many heat units it can collectively gather within one day, right? Sun up, sundown.
Yep.
Or something like that, right? And a resting temperature at night.
Yep.
Right? It has to drop back below a certain temperature so the crop...
Below 70.
Below 70?
Yep.
Okay.
And so I know years ago, this would have been probably 2015, 2016, we had 30-plus days of 70-plus nights.
Yeah. What'd that do to the crop? What does it do?
When you split the ears open, they look like baby teeth that year.
Really?
I mean, very, very shallow kernels.
Okay.
And that's the thing that...
Does it just wear it out? Is it just tired? Like it can't...
It's not going to sleep. And I always told people, it's like, how many of us could stay up for 30 days in a row and not go to sleep and of us be productive?
Okay.
Not a lot of people. I mean, corn plants are resilient. Yeah. Soybeans are resilient plants, but there's a limit to all of it. Yeah. So if you have these really hot nights, especially sustained hot nights, that's dropping your kernel depth.
Okay, let's walk over here and let's take a look at what is kernel depth.
Yep.
So I got one on the ground right here.
There you go.
Here you go.
Yep, base of that.
What are we looking at on kernel depth?
And this was picked pretty green.
Yeah, we can pull another one if you'd like, but
I can explain on this, but I think I was the one that snapped this ear in half like a month ago. But so you can see kernels are a three-dimensional item. We get paid on weight, right? Every farmer gets paid on weight across the scales.
So a bushel of corn is?
Yeah, a bushel of corn could be 56, 60 pounds, just depending.
Okay.
And so what people look for a lot of the time is how many kernel rows around.
Yep. This way.
Yep. Okay. And then what's the length?
An interesting fact is you'll never find an odd number around.
Absolutely. Yep. It's always even.
Many people probably didn't know that, but you will always find an even number of rows around an ear.
Yep.
Is that bred that way?
No, that's just the way corn is.
Nobody knows why.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
It's one thing you can't explain about it. That's interesting, though. I learned that and I was like, huh.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you get your kernel rows around and your length, right? Okay. And that gives you a pretty good idea of what your yield's going to be, but it's that other factor of, is it 90,000 kernels? Is it 80,000 kernels, 70,000? And what that determines is by how deep that kernel is. So, this was picked very, very early. It was not physiologically mature, and it's been drying down here on the ground for a while. So this is not a great example. Yeah. But the better grain fill period you have, so that post-flowering, when you get out of VT and you get into R1, you get into that brown silk period, when we're starting to fill out kernels, we want to have very cool, relatively cool days, definitely cool nights. Okay. And we don't want 60 degrees, consistent, but if we've got an 85-degree day and it drops down to the...
Yeah, we're going to swing 20 degrees. Most days we'll swing 20, 25 degrees in this part of the world.
And it'll add that kernel depth.
Okay.
So you're the standard used to be, length times girth, and then you do your 90,000 seeds per pound, and that would get you your yield. This is going to depend. I mean, some fields I've walked into, I'm like, well, maybe we should look at 70.
Yeah.
or 75,000 kernels per pound, because there's a lot of density in those kernels, and it's due to that kernel depth.
Okay.
There's a lot of things that we can also influence later season through fertility. And that's been one thing that's we didn't really get to talk about in the old hybrids versus new hybrids.
Yeah.
But if you look at old era hybrids, they used a lot less nitrogen in general.
Okay.
And they used a lot less nitrogen post-tassel than new hybrids have.
Okay.
And so, what do you think that does if we're doing everything all up front? All of your nitrogen for the year is applied pre, and we get a 3-inch rain and the soils are 80 degrees.
Yeah.
In July.
You're flushed. You're
Yep.
flushed and gone.
So, doing that rescue treatment. Boron is highly underrated, in my opinion. It's a highly mobile micronutrient, but most of boron is taken up by the kernels during grain fill.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
So
Okay. I think we're going to follow this session up with an agronomic breakdown of what corn plants are and how's their physiological structure. Like, I'd love to split a stalk with you one day.
Yep.
And come down through here. I think we have to follow that up because that's probably going to bring us in about 3 more hours of today. But this is interesting because, we got the dent, right?
Yep.
Which is, there's a whole lot more when you look at this you're seeing than what I just asked about.
Yep.
Too.
Yep.
And that's very intriguing to me, and what a lot of people probably just don't understand. You're like, what good are these guys, right? You're seeing all these roots down here. Why are they out of the ground? There's a whole bunch of things that people just don't understand. Like,
And we're not.
they didn't do anything. Surely they didn't. Yeah, or maybe they did.
That's an Oxen expression, but there's things that we're maybe not seeing here because we did cut alleys. But you'll get a lot of questions on this. Like, maybe this is a poor example of the second ear.
Right there you go.
Why don't all corn plants have second ears?
There you go.
Well,
Okay.
this is a good example because it's still.
Want me to hold your mic for you?
Yep.
Gotcha.
That's an okay. That's not an okay ear. It's an okay ear for an inbred. But you think that thing is going to go through the snap roller or go through the stripper plates? It's going to go right through the stripper plates on a combine, and you
Be
just
on the
took
ground anyway.
a whole bunch of energy because every one of these corn leaves is a solar panel.
Yep.
And it's charging biological batteries to be able to fill grain on an ear.
Yep.
And so we've bred corn typically to provide one ear because we can push all that energy from that biological battery
all into one. You can see the difference. We pulled it off the same plant. I'll hold this. Let's pull another one here. And you can see the difference in this one that has had the energy pressed into it. Right? And you got your side by side now of what it's supposed to be, and then this is basically the leftover.
Yep.
Right? And if you can capture some of this,
Yep.
that's great.
Yep.
Right? But this
It is.
isn't the focus.
Yeah, this isn't the focus, and really the only reason that this had a second ear on it was due to space.
Gotcha.
Because you got a runt here, so let's not worry about that. But you've got 18 inches between plants, or 12. Let's just call it 12.
Okay.
But then we've got 15 feet behind us.
Right.
With nothing. So if it's
With
got
nothing.
space, and you'll see that. Farmers will ask you too, hey, this random plant out here, we bush hog this area out to park a piece of equipment, and there's one plant that survived and it's got 6 ears on it. Great, but it's not going to be that way.
Right. Not when he's got the neighbor.
Not when we got
start walking down
36,000.
through here and
Yep.
and you start looking at that. Yeah.
Yep.
So we got a plant every 6 inches, 6.5 inches,
Something like that. Yep.
depending on population.
Yep.
Right. We go back to we were saying earlier where we had we've moved the needle probably from 30,000, 31, 32 standard. That's probably standard in I want to call our geographical region of the world. To now we're pushing populations, and the population, when you talk about that, that's how many plants we're growing per 1 acre,
Correct.
right?
Yep.
So we break that down by 10. So every 17.5 feet in one row of 30-inch corn
Yep.
is 1/10 of an acre.
Yep.
So we would be seeing, 40,000, you'd be seeing 40 plants in 17.5 feet
Yep.
coming down through here.
Yep.
So that's a broke down version of our populations and how you start pushing the envelope on yields and stuff like that, right?
Yep.
So,
And that's a big thing to increasing yield is that population increase. Again, some corn flexes where you may,
explain what's flex. What's flex?
yeah. So, and we just did,
Okay.
and so we're looking at kernel rows around.
Yeah.
I didn't count it, and this is an end row ear, so it's.
We can let Brian count. You want me to have him count it?
Sure.
Brian, I want to volunteer you to break it open and give that a count around there.
You may have to take his shoes off.
No.
Yeah. You need toes.
I'm missing a finger, by golly.
So we're going to count around here. We got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18.
Yeah.
Wait, that's not an odd number again. Never supposed to be, right?
They're not supposed to be.
18. Good.
So 18 around. I like seeing 18 around.
Right. Yeah,
Right.
it's nice. There's a lot of girth to that.
Yep, absolutely. And
Yeah.
so we've got ears and some hybrids that flex. So you might have 18, you may have 20, there's 22 in some cases.
Okay.
You start to look at some of those CGA entries, it's big, giant 22
National Corn
around.
Growers
Yes.
Association entries,
Yep,
NCGA.
the yield
right?
contest, yep.
They do yield contests across America that allow them to enter and see who can grow the best
Yep,
results in corn.
yep,
Right.
absolutely.
Yep.
We've got
and it's non-test lab. It's real field
yeah,
conditions
it's real field conditions.
with requirements of how many acres or how there's different requirements
Yep.
within that. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
yep.
But you start to look at what those guys are doing, and they're trying to get 22 around, and they're trying to get that really long
Yep.
ears. Well, that's great, but you're not going to get necessarily that by only having a standard rate. So they've got to push that. They've got to replicate a 22 by 40 ear that's
Yeah.
got super deep kernels
Yep.
across 40,000 plants instead of 31.
Yep.
Because that's where your yield's going to come from. But again, some products flex quite a bit, so you can get a 20 and you can drop those pops right down to 29 or 30,000. You can get pretty good yields off of that. Other ones are going to be very fixed, and so you may only see 14 or 16 around. It doesn't matter if you're dropping 22,000 plants an acre or 40,000 plants an acre. You're going to get the same dimensions of those ears every time. Your yield's going to be coming from putting more ears in the combine.
Gotcha.
There's a lot of little ears, but there's also a lot of little ears coming in.
Right.
Right.
Right. And little ears can mean to missed ears as well. When we pick this back up, we were talking about the deck rolls, snapping rolls, the deck plates. What happens when you're trying to go through a combine? Most heads, to my knowledge, all harvest the same way right now,
Yep,
right?
yep.
You have two counter rotating rolls that grab the stalk, a plant, they yank it down through what is a set of deck plates that's like set across a certain distance, and as it goes through there, that snaps that ear out off of the plant and lets it go into the machine.
Yep.
All right, so if you can't get your deck plates close enough to hold this, that's going out the machine back onto the ground.
Yep.
Yep.
And then you got volunteer corn to worry about next year,
Yep.
and you've missed kernels.
Yep, gotcha. Well, you've been telling me about this, the shore corn.
Yep,
Right.
yep.
What was it?
Pressian.
Pressian. I didn't want to mispronounce the name. I knew I was going with P, but I didn't know what to pronounce
Yeah,
it.
I didn't name it.
It's okay.
But it actually is a made-up word, but it's two meanings. So
Okay.
Press for precision,
Okay.
eon, which means timeless. So it means timeless precision.
Okay. Gotcha. You want to take us? Maybe we can take a look
Yeah.
at that a little bit and maybe
Yeah.
explain some of that.
We're gonna
So
walk down here and do
All
a
right.
little jog. But yeah,
Okay, we'll do that.
absolutely.
okay. So what we got here?
Yeah, so we're in the middle of a Pressian sulfur trial, and so I know we talked about that earlier today, where the corn is a little bit taller
Yeah.
as the later you planted. So this went in the ground a little bit later.
Okay.
So you're seeing that right now. So this is a sulfur on and no sulfur
Okay.
treatment on the starter.
Gotcha.
And so you can start to see that, but I'll cut a plant out.
Yeah.
But you saw where we were at, and I'll cut a plant out, and we'll go back up to the front where we've got a little bit more room, and I can show you the difference. But you already noticed that the ear height's a lot lower.
And about my belt buckle, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
So Pressian, we typically want to see around 7.5 feet in its plant height,
Okay.
and then around 26 inches to 30 inches in the ear height.
Okay.
And the idea is that you can get any high clearance sprayer over that.
Yeah.
Versus some corn, and you've run Hagees a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And
Right.
you got tassels whipping you in the face on that.
Right. You can't see where you're going.
Can't see where you're
don't have a clue what's
going. There's a
on.
lot of fatigue that comes with spraying
Oh, my
tall
gosh.
corn with a high
Yes.
clearance machine, and
Yeah.
you've only got a handful that can actually do that. With this, and again, this is a taller side of the short.
Yep.
You can get. I was in a field last week in Hendricks County, Indiana, and the guy went over corn. It was about this tall with a John Deere sprayer without a lift kit on it.
There you go. Because of its, I'm gonna call it palability and ability to still lean.
Yep.
It won't snap,
Yep.
but you still have enough there that it's still there.
Yep.
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
it's a lot easier to
So
spray.
moving this guy down
Yep.
on the ear
Yep.
has allowed us to bring. Okay.
Yep. And so we talk about it as an acronym PAY, so protection, access, yield. And
Yeah.
what we're talking about right now is the access piece.
Yeah.
You can get in, if you need to do a rescue of nitrogen, if you need to go in and do a couple passes of fungicide, you can do that with your own machine. You can do it with a drone, you can do it with a plane
Right,
too,
right,
right?
right.
What you spray and when you spray means everything.
Yep.
And I'm a firm believer in that.
Okay.
The protection piece, I mean, these are shorter statured corn. They tend to have better standability.
Yep.
So we saw that derecho that came through in 2020.
Yep.
A lot of corn went down. Guess what didn't?
Yeah.
And even with late harvest, I mean, we were talking about that earlier today. Is some people are going to be out there. If you remember last year, we had Hurricane Helene come in.
Right.
We had a flash drought.
Yeah.
We had stalk cannibalization, and we had a hurricane coming in a hurry.
And
That was not a fun situation for anybody. We had a couple guys in northern Indiana that were like, "We're going to roll the dice here," and it worked out. They had a lot of confidence. They went out, got all their tall corn. They left their short corn until after the hurricane, and it stood.
And so one of the other things, going back to a little bit of population too, sometimes increasing population helps standability because they have each other to lean on too.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
It's kind of like having your friends around saying, hey, help me hold up whenever this is.
Yep.
So similar thing. I don't want to say it's the same thought process, but
Yeah,
it's a similar thing too.
Yeah, absolutely. And that piece.
Emergence. I mean, it kind of plays into a lot of that stuff too, because if it's a crust of ground or something hard, or it's having a hard time to shove through, two is easier pushed than one.
Yep.
So similar things.
Yeah, absolutely. And every, we start to think about green snap, and I know that's not a huge issue across most of Indiana. This is a kind of an area for green snap. The west side is. It really becomes an issue when you get to Nebraska.
Yeah.
These were meant for green snap areas.
Okay.
To help protect from straight line winds that would cause that. The other thing is, I mean, just general agronomically speaking, I mean, we had a hybrid back when I was a TA that snapped. I mean, it quite frankly had horrible green snap ratings. The one place that I saw, or not the one place, but the one attribute that I saw about that hybrid in certain fields where it didn't snap, where we had a big snap event, was where the population was over 36,000.
Really?
And you know why? Because you would think, okay, we've got 60-mile-an-hour straight line winds. This is just going to act as a sail and push everything over.
Yeah.
Well, the population actually reduced the turgor pressure within the plant.
So you're
So
starting.
that's the vascular, the pressure
Okay.
of within the vascular system. Think about it as the blood pressure of the
Okay.
plant.
Gotcha. Yep.
There's a rapid growth phase in corn that
Yep.
happens. And we always tell people there's about a 10-day window that it's just
Gonna-
firing.
yeah.
I mean, it's growing faster and you can literally hear it grow.
Yeah.
That's when it's its most susceptible to green snap. Well, if you increase the population on some of these high potential snap hybrids, that turgor pressure tends to lower. And so
Okay.
when we saw, 29, 31, 32,000 on this one hybrid, and it would snap, but then we got over 36 and it wasn't snapping, it was because that turgor pressure was lower and it made it less susceptible to snap. That one, not this hybrid, but the one
Right,
hybrid
yeah.
I'm referring to was also that would throw baseball bat size ears at 28,000, 26,000 seeds per acre.
Gotcha.
So there was a lot of incentive to plant
Lower.
population because 22, 24 around was pretty standard at
Right.
those low populations.
Yeah.
And so
Gotcha.
anyway, it's always a trade-off, and it's like, every farmer does this. They all manage risk. They look at the environment, they look at their soils, they look at what the weather's going to do, and then they have to create a plan to manage that risk throughout the season.
Yep. And then second guess it all year long.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Yeah.
not fun unless you do that.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Nobody wants a full night of sleep.
Yeah. Right. Well, how about we cut a plant if we're allowed to?
Yep.
And we can go back out and we'll try to lay it next to a full season and maybe get just a visual side by side with a little explanation on that.
Yep. Perfect.
Sound good?
Yep.
We've wandered our way back out of the corn maze, the restricted area. Maybe we're still there.
It's not restricted. It's just easier to film out here.
We talked about having to don our biosuits.
Yeah.
No. But you can see the short and what that means in comparison to the plant that I'm holding and where the ear leaf or the ear is on this one. So that is more of the short corn explanation than overall height. You can see if you look up, there's probably at least probably about 2 foot on this.
Yep.
But it also depends on your planting date
Yep.
when this goes out as to how tall this physically gets.
Yep. And there's also between, I mean, this is one hybrid that we're looking at between each.
Yep.
There is a difference in height between our hybrids in the portfolio. So you're
Okay.
going to have very, very short shorts, and you're going to have I wouldn't say tall shorts, but you'll have some some taller short corn out there.
Gotcha. But generally speaking, we're going to have an ear that's like, I think you said 26 to 30 inches.
Yeah, 26 is really what we're aiming for.
Aiming for?
When
Gotcha.
we're breeding this is we want 26 inches above the ground. We want 7 to 7.5 feet to the top of the plant.
Gotcha.
That's what our kind of our guidepost is for us.
Where's this guy? Where are we coming from? What has this been in the past? I mean, I think I've seen some of these over my head.
Yeah, you have.
In the
And
past.
it all depends on fertility.
Which doesn't take much, by the way.
Well, I'm 6'3".
Slightly above 26 inches puts it there.
There
But
you go. I'm 6'3", and I've had corn go over. I mean, and it just depends. If guys are running tons of manure on that crop, it'll extend that. It just depends on the hybrid too. So this is typically a taller hybrid.
Okay.
This tall corn that you're.
Yep.
It's not the tallest one on the lineup, but it is. It is a taller hybrid, and it's not even as tall. Oddly enough, when I was in California, not to jump back to that.
Yeah.
There was some corn out there. We grew a lot of it for silage. But that was like 16 feet tall.
Oh my goodness.
I've never seen corn as tall as what I've seen there.
Oh my goodness.
It was largely the environment because it was, similar products to what we were selling in the Midwest.
Wow.
But you can see on this, I mean, if you look at this from the ear above, you start to look at internodes.
Yeah.
They're largely running about the same length.
Yeah.
It's below the ear.
So your internodes are where your
Yeah. So you've got your nodes.
Sorry.
Every
I'm gonna
leaf.
strip this so they can see it a little better.
Yep.
Maybe.
Let me hold your mic.
I would. That's gonna make him happy on audio side. So you can still do that, right? Okay.
Yep.
So now you got what's called an internode. Am I correct?
Yep. So each of these little, it looks like bamboo, right?
Yeah.
Those are called nodes,
Yeah.
and then in between is the internode.
This point right here.
Yep.
Yep.
And so they're shorter.
Yeah. Gotcha. So we've reduced the length in here
Yep.
through the breeding process.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And
which is overall brings this guy
Brings
down.
the ear down.
Gotcha.
And this is an auxin regulation basically.
And you can really
that we're
see
doing.
it down below if you zoom in down below
Yep.
on what we've got. You can kind of see down here the difference. Number 2 is midway. Number 3 you can't see too well, but number 3 sits right here, and we're already at 2. So we gained a whole node.
Yep. Absolutely.
In height right there.
Yep.
On what we got. So and the overall goal of that is of course a standability, different things like that within the.
Yep.
Yeah. Does it also go into energy savings and saying we're going to put more energy into reproductive versus plant
Yes,
growth?
it can. It can.
Okay.
And we're seeing that as well. I mean, part of it was we're putting more plants out there, so a more compact plant can handle higher populations.
Okay.
Which is actually being more efficient with energy. It's being more efficient with fertility. We still need to feed. I don't want to tell people go put 42,000
Yep.
out and then run it like you're planting 29. I mean, you need to fertilize for your yield goals,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
But it comes back to that protection, access, and yield. So we talked a little bit about the protection. The access piece I think is awesome. And
Yeah.
as a gentleman who runs sprayers, you
Yeah.
run over short corn and you're like, it's like spraying beans.
There you go. Yeah.
So then it gives you the ability to kind of to mess around with stuff. I wouldn't say mess around, but just really precision tailor a program for yield. And then the yield piece is the last piece, and it does yield. I mean,
Yeah.
these ears are not too much different. And
Right.
That's planted at 36, and this is planted at 40.
Well, your center of gravity, right? Your center of gravity goes down as well. So you get high wind scenarios. You now have a lower center of gravity.
Yep.
I mean, I got a pretty low center of gravity myself, so I know what that is.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
but on this too, you can easily see, I brought up earlier, all these leaves, look where they're coming out on this plant, right?
Yep.
So you can tell the orientation of this plant that was sitting in the row,
Yep.
even when we walked out of here, I don't know, 400 feet away from where we were before.
Yep.
Here's your sunlight capturing on the sides.
Yep.
Compared to every other direction that it goes.
100%.
So
100%.
it's just neat. It's all designed that way. So next time you drive past the field, I bet you don't look at it the same way.
Yeah.
So. All right. Well,
Think about that again.
we've been off subject again. So, yeah. So, all right. Well, hey, welcome back. We made it back inside. We had a little bit of a walk, and but we're gonna wrap this up. Back in some comfort. We got some water here, but
Yep.
I think I normally do this with a icebreaker. I open with. However, I'm a little delayed, and we all three get to answer this. So
Yeah.
So and welcome back, Brian.
Oh, thank you very much. Glad to be back.
So you're not lost in the field anymore.
I'm not.
Yeah.
So, the icebreaker today is if you could live in a movie, which one would it be?
Yeah, I'm still thinking on that one. But Honestly, there's some older movies, the old Jim Bridger movies about Jim Bridger and kind of the pioneers out in the Intermountain West. Is that those trails were being blazed, like A Man in the Wilderness, things like that. I don't know if I want to be eaten and mauled by a bear, but
I think you can hold your own.
yeah. But I mean, it just from me, the Rocky Mountains have a very special place in my heart for my education and things like that, and just to be able to be in that pristine wilderness at that time,
Gotcha.
would be a really big blessing.
That's a more thought out answer than I'm able to give at this point. We're gonna go to Brian. So what do you got, Brian?
You know, I don't know. I just think of back in the day. You ever seen the movie The Man from Snowy River?
Oh yes. Oh yeah.
I just like that. I like that show. I had it on rewind.
cowboy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not a cowboy now. I'm a Cowboys fan, but
Yeah, like
but you know, back in the day, just out there running the cattle around, you know, just being old Billy Badman. So
Yeah.
I like that movie.
that is a good movie. That you can watch that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would say I was gonna go with some kind of John Wayne thing myself. All right, I like the wilderness. I like the outside. I like being able to rely on myself.
Yep.
Like so something in that West thing, because I feel like there was a lot of that, you know, in a lot of those shows or in that time frame as well. Like you bring to the table what you got.
Yep.
Like that was it.
Yep.
Like, and I'm good with that. So I think that feels like that's what I am. I feel like I'd fit in the best. I don't think it's going to be a Happy Gilmore or like none of those things. Right? Like,
Back to the Future 3.
I'm not that guy. Like I think my brother could pull that off. I couldn't do that, right? So, but this has been very enjoyable on the road today. We made a 3-hour trek down here. We weren't quite sure how this was going to turn out. I'm sure you weren't either. But this has been wonderful. We appreciate the invite, letting us come down, and I would love to follow this up with some. We were talking previously a little bit about agronomy boot camp. I'd love to follow this up with maybe an agronomy boot camp for us, our listeners. Like, break this down and like let's put some coloring crowns on this. That's what I need.
What it all
I learned so
what
much
all
today.
goes
Did you?
into it, right?
You
You know,
learned-
thank
I
you,
learned so
Fancer,
much.
for not being here. You know, it's absolutely it's been a great learning experience to be honest with you, and you know, just your diversified background, and it's led you back to here, and as being as passionate about your job as you are, and you know, wanting to roll out the best product.
Yep.
You know, for all these producers, right?
Yep. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
That's what gets me out of bed in the morning is people and our producers, and being able to deliver solutions to them. I want them to produce and be able to pass their farm on to the next generation. That's really what gets me out of bed.
Cultivating those relationships,
Yep.
right? You know,
100%.
Travis calls up, what do I need to do? And you have that answer or
Yep.
the best answer to your ability.
Yeah. And vice versa. I mean, that goes back to our relationship in 2020. What do I need to do?
Yeah.
Can you come out here?
Yes, yes. So.
It's very symbiotic for sure.
Yeah.
Well, we greatly thank sponsors, Land Pros, Experience Ag. Thank you, Jason and Bear, for hosting us today with the ability to come out here. This has been a lot of fun, and we look forward to doing it again. We'll see you guys the next time.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Boot camp.
I like that, Jason. Thank you.